This is the fourth episode in our course. In this one, I'll be covering all about Arnold's scatter object, so let's get started. I'll be starting with the scene setup. First, let's add a simple plane object, and then add a cube. Let's make the cube smaller, decrease its size to about 5 centimeters. And now use the place object to place the cube on top of the plane. And now for today's hero, head to Arnold's menu and then choose Arnold Scatter. In the object manager, grab the cube and make it a child of the Arnold Scatter. You will notice that the cube just disappeared from your viewer. Normally you won't be able to see what the Arnold Scatter object is doing to your objects without using the IBR, so let's open our IBR. Go to Arnold's menu and then grab your RBR window. Place it to the left. We didn't add any lights, so we can't see anything. Let's add Arnold Sky. Head to Arnold and then choose Arnold Sky. Make your attribute manager a bit bigger so we can see everything. Choose the Arnold Scatter. And now let's discuss the distribution tab. The first thing you see is the surface. It's asking us to provide a surface to scatter our cube on. So let's use our plane. Grab it and put it next to the surface. You start seeing the scattering effect. Let's zoom in a bit. Under surface, it's asking us to provide a selection, and we can do so by providing a selection tag. Let's make our plane an editable one. Press on it and then click on C. That will make the plane editable. After doing so, grab your polygon selection tool and select some polygons. And then head to select menu and then choose store selection. In the object manager right next to the plane, you will find that there is a polygon selection tag added. Under the command, you will find the count and it says 9, and that's the 9 faces or polygons that we've selected. And now choose the scatter object and then grab the selection tag and drop it next to the selection. And as you can see in the IBR window, this is the only part that the scatter is scattering the objects on. And now for the distribution, we have it on surface, so it's scattering every single cube that we have added on the surface that we've just selected using the tag. The distribution has, as you can see, 4 modes. We can use vertex. For the vertex mode, it adds one scattered object on top of every vertex that we have on the selection. For the edge mode, it will distribute the scattered objects on top of the edges of the faces that we've selected. And we can adjust the points per edge from this value here. You can increase it or decrease it as much as you like. And you can use the uniform distribution if you would like, using this check button here, and still you can increase or decrease as much as you like. Next we have the polygon center. For the polygon center mode, it adds one scattered object in the middle of each polygon that we've selected. And last we have the surface mode. Inside the surface mode, we have 2 ways to control the scattering. The first method is using the density, and there is a slider to control the amount. It's on 100 for now. Let's decrease it to around 2%. Let's try 5, and now let's go with 1. The second method is using the point count. Let's decrease the point count. Instead of 1000, let's use 10, for example. Let's increase it to 500. Let's reset it by right clicking on this arrow here. Next we have the seed. Let's try a value of 2, 3, 4, 5. It's just a value to randomize the scattering. Right under the seed you will find the shader. To demonstrate this better, let's remove the selection. Let's zoom out a bit and then increase the point count. Instead of 1000, let's use 5000. And now click on the arrow next to the shader and try choosing noise. A noise layer have been added, and the scatter object is using this noise shader or this noise map to scatter the object on top of the surface of the plane instead of randomly distributing it. We can use other shaders or maps to drive the scattering instead of this noise. For example, I can use a gradient, and as you can see in the IBR, the white areas or the value of 1 is having larger distributions, and the black or the dark areas at the value of 0 is having none. And now let's remove the shader completely by clicking on clear. If you don't want your scattered object to intersect with each other, click on push apart, and using this value you can define the distance between each scattered object. Let's use a value of 5 here. 5 was the size of our cube, so there is no cubes touching each other or even intersecting. If we reduce it to around 4, it will start intersecting again. And now we've finished the distribution tab. Let's move on to instances. And as you can see, starting from the top, it has 2 modes for the render. First one is the child objects, and this is how we were doing it. Any child object of the scatter object in the objects manager will be distributed and scattered on the surface or whatever mode you've chosen in the distribution. And the other mode would be shapes, and you will have to drag your shapes and drop them in that tab here. And as you can see, they will start appearing again. Next we have the shape modes. We have sequential, random, blend, and first. All of these are used when you have more than one object inside your scatter object. Next we have the render related options. Something like the shadows here, we can completely eliminate the shadows. As you can see, our objects will not have any shadows, or you can stop them from appearing in the camera like this. And the rest is self-explanatory. Let's go to orientation, and it has 3 modes under the up direction. You can use the normal direction for your cube or the axis, or you can define a target that will drive your orientation. What's really interesting in this tab is these 3 options: the position, scale, and rotation. Let's try playing around with the position. Open it, and if we say this is X, Y, and Z, let's increase the Y to around 50. You will notice that it lifted all the scattered object in the Y with value of 50. Increase the variation to 100. So as you can see, it's almost like a random effector that is built in the scatter object. You can do the same with the X and Z values. For the shader option, we can use a noise map to drive it with, something like this. We can increase the Y value. Instead of 50, we can use 150. And we still can control it from inside the noise using the scale value if you would like, or you can use the variation slider, and the same goes for the scale and rotation values. And that would be it for the orientation. Let's head to the display. The first value is LOD, or level of details. If we decrease it to 0%, it will stop displaying the dots in the viewport. This is because we have a viewport mode of dots. Let's increase it again to 100. And in the viewport mode, instead of dots, let's use axes. So as you can see, instead of indicating the scattered object in the viewport as dots, it starts using axes, and you can control the size of them as much as you like. And now for the next one, we have bounding box. It's all ways for you to get an indication of where are your scattered objects. Let's go for the next one. Instead of bounding box, we can use wireframes or shaded. And that would be it for the display tab. The last tab is effectors, and here you can use any MoGraph effector that you would like. Let's try adding a plane effector. Go to MoGraph and then effectors, and then pick a plane effector. You will notice immediately that we have lifted the Y values of all the scattered object with a value of 100. We can reduce this 100 to around 50, and you can use any MoGraph effector on top of the Arnold Scatter object as much as you like. And that would be it for the scatter object. At the end of this episode, let me ask you a question, and that would be, why would you prefer using the Arnold Scatter object instead of the cloner? And that would be it for today's episode. See you next time.